You sent us Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins for this deep dive. And, well, it really gets you thinking, doesn't it? About, what we're actually capable of.
Oh, absolutely. It throws that question right in your face from the start. Are your limits really limits or just
Mhm.
comfortable?
Exactly. That's the core of it. For anyone who hasn't come across it, the book is Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. It's by David Goggins, who's a retired Navy SEAL chief. Pretty intense guy.
Understatement,
Right.
maybe. Yeah. And you can find it basically everywhere, hardcover, ebook, audiobook. The message is definitely accessible.
Right. And before you even get into chapter one, there's this warning order.
Yeah, that really sets the stage, doesn't it? It's not your typical book intro.
No way. It's structured like a military briefing, which I guess fits him perfectly.
Yeah.
And thinking about why, our listeners tune in for that deeper knowledge, self-improvement, those points at heart.
Definitely. What's the first one again? Something about comfort.
Yeah, it warns about the danger of living a life so comfortable and soft that you will die without ever realizing your true potential. Oof, that's a direct shot at complacency.
It really is. Cuts right through any excuses you might be making. And then there's the mission it lays out.
Right. To unshackle your mind, ditch the victim's mentality forever, own all aspects of your life completely, build an unbreakable foundation. These aren't suggestions, they're like commands.
Active commands, yeah, for taking control. And the execution part, it spells out the work. Read the book, do the
And
challenges.
then repeat them to callous your mind. That phrase really sticks.
It does. It implies that mental toughness isn't a gift, it's something earned. Like building calluses on your hands, you build them on your mind through, well, friction, through pushing past comfort.
It connects to that idea of stress inoculation, right? Gradually building resilience.
Exactly. And he's brutally honest, this will hurt. He frames pain not as a stop sign, but as proof you're actually making progress.
Which leads to that other line. Don't stop when you are tired. Stop when you are done. That's intense, almost a mantra.
Definitely. And that final classified note. This is the origin story of a hero. The hero is you.
Yeah.
It's clever, it pulls you in, makes his story relevant to your own potential.
Yeah, really draws you in. Okay, so with that setup, let's get into the introduction itself. He starts right back with that big question.
What are you capable of?
Yeah, and he doesn't just leave it hanging. He immediately challenges you if you think you already know.
Right, he says, I'm sure you think so, but just because you believe something doesn't make it true. Denial is the ultimate comfort zone. Pow. He's basically saying, don't kid yourself.
No kidding. And then he observes all these people, dead-eyed as zombies, addicted to comfort, embracing a victim's mentality. It's a bleak picture.
It is. He's suggesting it's a widespread issue, this kind of sleepwalking through life, totally unaware of what's possible. Does that resonate with why people seek out, knowledge and growth?
Yeah,
To avoid that state.
I think so, yeah. That feeling that there's more. And then he shares his own story, which is just brutal.
Incredibly difficult. Born broken, beat downs, bullied, racism, poverty, depression. It's a relentless list.
It really grounds his message, doesn't it? Shows where he came from. He talks about feeling like he was at the bottom of the barrel.
Absolutely. That context is key to understanding the sheer willpower involved in his transformation. He felt like his future was nothing.
He uses that analogy, feeling stuff at the bottom, as like quicksand. It just sucks you under.
Visceral, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he links that feeling to making choices based on comfort, even if those choices keep you stuck in the quicksand.
Yeah, those familiar habits that feel safe but actually stop you from moving forward, which leads him to his pretty controversial take on motivation,
Right. Motivation is crap. Direct quote.
which sounds crazy coming from him, but he explains, right?
Yeah, he says any pep talk or self-help trick is just like a temporary Band-Aid. It won't rewire your brain.
So external boosts don't last. It has to be internal.
That seems to be his point. Real change needs deep internal work. Taking ownership. He says something like, the bad hand he was dealt. It was his job, and only his, to fix it. No waiting for inspiration.
It's about taking total responsibility, and his fix wasn't small adjustments. It was radical.
Completely. Seeking pain, embracing suffering,
Yeah.
turning himself into, in his words, the hardest man God ever created. It's extreme, but it shows the level of commitment.
And then he takes that personal experience and makes it universal with the 40% rule.
Yeah, this is fascinating. He claims most people, most of us, are only using about 40% of our true capability, regardless of background.
Only 40%. That's staggering.
It is. Psychologically, it makes some sense. Our brains want comfort. They want to conserve energy. So our perceived limit is often way lower than our actual physical or mental limit. Goggins is basically yelling at us to push past that initial stop signal.
He calls it a damn shame, all that wasted potential, and he tells that story about MIT.
Oh, yeah, the panel discussion on mental toughness. That's a great anecdote.
Yeah. So he's there, this guy who's lived through insane physical and mental challenges.
Right, and he's on a panel with an MIT professor who actually researches mental toughness.
And the professor says what? That genetics sets limits.
Basically, yeah. That there are hard ceilings created by our genes that mental toughness can't just break through.
And Goggins just disagrees, flat out.
Pretty much.
Mm.
He hits back with, there's something to be said for living it instead of studying it. A real mic drop moment, kind of.
Wow. Validating experience over theory.
Exactly. And he adds that maybe the professor's right for most people, but there's always going to be the 1% of us who are willing to put in the work to defy the odds.
That 1%. About extreme will, then.
It comes down to, as he says,
Yeah.
a lot of heart, will, and an armored mind. That phrase again, armored mind. Building mental defenses through hardship.
Which connects to that Heraclitus quote he uses, right? About the battlefield.
Yeah, the breakdown. 10 soldiers who shouldn't be there, 80 who are just targets, 9 who are real fighters.
And the one warrior.
And the one warrior. Goggins is saying, strive to be that one warrior in the battlefield of your own life.
And he makes it universal from birth. We're eligible to die, but also eligible to find your greatness and become the one warrior.
It puts the responsibility squarely on us to prepare for life's battles by mastering our minds.
So the book promises to show a proven path to do that.
That's the claim. To help you face reality, take accountability, push past pain, embrace fear, use failure, live fully, and ultimately find out who you really are.
It sounds like a complete overhaul. He also mentions how humans change, doesn't he?
He does. Study, habit, and stories. His own story serves as the example, showing what the mind and body can do when pushed.
And he reframes obstacles.
Totally. Racism, sexism, injury, divorce, depression, poverty.
Hmm.
Anything negative can become fuel for your metamorphosis if you have the drive. It's about turning roadblocks into launching pads.
Wow, okay. And he calls the steps in the book an evolutionary algorithm.
Yeah, like a process designed to obliterate barriers, bring glory, and deliver lasting peace. It sounds almost mystical, but it suggests a structured approach.
And he wraps up the intro with that intense call to action.
It's time to go to war with yourself. No ambiguity there. It's about the internal battle against your own limitations.
So yeah, summing up this intro, it's a powerful wake-up call about potential we don't use, limits we accept too easily, and the absolute need for mental mastery.
Definitely sets a demanding tone for the rest of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about, our listeners aiming for growth, which parts of this intro do you think land hardest? The comfort zone warning, the 40% rule, that one warrior idea.
I keep coming back to that 40% rule, just the idea that there's potentially so much more capacity sitting there untapped. It's kind of mind-blowing and maybe a little scary, but also hopeful.
It's definitely provocative. So maybe the final thought to leave people with is this. If Goggins is even partly right about that 40%, what could your one warrior self actually achieve if you really push past where you normally stop? What happens if you start listening to that voice inside that says, keep going?